Coming at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. I'm pushing the button early because I guess I'm hitting the gong early too, because it is a Modelo Monday. It's a reason to be excited because the Dodgers actually won a game. We're happy. We're happy when the Dodgers win some games. That is fun. This is also a show that's part of the Believe network of podcasts. What is going on, Clint Nation? My name is Clint. You guys can find me as Real FRG on the social media machine. And on today's show, we are doing another edition of Monday Overreactions. I ask, do we believe in that 8-run inning the Dodgers posted on Sunday, or do we believe in more of the rest that happened in that home stand? So we'll talk a little bit about that. We have some injury updates, a little bit of Walker Buehler talk, plus a small preview of the very long road trip ahead for the boys in blue. All that on another edition of All Dodgers Live here. Again, I am Clint Pasillas. Thank you guys for joining the show. Let's bring the comments in here. Consider giving this a thumbs up if you enjoy talking about Dodger baseball. Consider hitting that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. That's something that really does help out the channel on our mission to 7,000 subscribers and beyond. But baby steps. Let's get to that 7K mark first. And when we do, we'll do something fun and exciting. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a strip tease around that. I'm going to stop talking about that kind of stuff. That's weird. It's awful. But what's not weird and awful is if you guys were to also find the show on iTunes or on Spotify, leave a review there. Subscribe if you're not subscribed there on those platforms. But let's go ahead and get into some of your fine comments here. I see William Andrews was, I think, one of the first people in the chat, dropping a first in the chat, and we'll give the clap there. Joel Rodriguez dropping an eggplant. I don't understand the reference there. Our guy, Richard Flores, checking in from Devore, California. Always appreciate Richard hanging out here in the chat. Kevin Uhas, hanging out in the chat as well. Says, hope you're doing well. Can't wait for this episode. Appreciate you, Kevin. Hope everybody else is enjoying their Monday. This is totally apple juice. If YouTube is asking, and if you guys are asking, it's not. You know what day it is. It is Monday. So cheers, everybody. Happy almost 6:05 p.m. Let's see what else we got here. William saying, wait to get revenge on those I'm assuming we're talking about the Nats, of course. Dodgers going to play the Nats. Got a 9-game roadie coming up. Going to learn a lot about this team, I feel, on a long 9-game road trip. Oh, look at that. Starting the show off fresh from our friend Bob Nightingale, $9.99 Super Chat. Thank you so much, Bob. I had another gong there for a $9.99 Super Chat. Says, fire Dave Roberts, JK, but please do a shoey. Okay, if we get to 7K, I may consider. I don't know. I feel so weird about the idea of a shoey. All my shoes are like old now. I don't keep my shoes in tip-top shape like my good friend Mr. Douglas McCain. So we'll see. Maybe I'll specifically buy very cheap shoes from Walmart. And then I'm going to cheat. I'm going to line them with like a plastic bag, and we'll have a good time. But let's see what we got here. Josh Gitt also talking about the revenge trip coming up for the Dodgers. This is a very, very important trip for these Dodgers. And it's just because you got to prove to yourself that it's not a struggle point yet. Like we're not worried, but it's also, and I'm going to say this more again a little bit, but this is a team with a winning record. It's not all hell has broken loose. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of small problems with this team. So it's tough to say like this is a must-win road trip. Like they need to be 500 or better on this road trip. You always want to do that. But it's understandable if they don't come out like all sunshine and roses, because you are missing a lot of star power, or more importantly, you're missing a lot of pitching. You're missing a lot of help there that has gone a long way. But even the guys who are supposed to be in the starting rotation and are healthy, they haven't done very well. Talking Yamamoto, I believe, a little bit later in the show as well, who we need to see a little bit more out of Yamamoto. You need to see a lot of what we saw in Tyler Glasnow on on Sunday, because that was the type of thing. That was a stopper performance. That's a type of shit that turns you into that ace, makes you that dog for your new team. So big stuff there as we get into Monday overreactions and talking about really that last series. Yes, it's a big win on Sunday, but you still lost another series, and to me it's kind of a problem. It's a little bit of a problem for this team. They've lost 4 of their last 5 series. Bad homestand overall, going 3-6. Was yesterday, though. Was that a must-win? Do we call that? Do we account any game in April as a must-win game? Well, we talked to earlier on my other show, Dodgers Territory on Foul Territory Network. We did talk to Jerry Harrison Jr., who shared his thoughts on the idea of it being a must-win. So let's listen to Jerry real quick.
It was a must-needed win. Listen, in April, you never want to say there's must-wins, but I think it was a must-win. And not only that, guys got healthy, especially swinging the bats. Anytime you beat a team like the Mets, who were red hot, you beat them 10-0, and have your ace Tyler Glasnow, who absolutely dealt, had everything working. You needed to finish that homestand strong to now have an off day today and then go on a road 9-day road trip. Yes, it was a get-right day, a must-needed win for the Dodgers, who are going to be fine, but you still want to end the homestand on a positive note.
You do want to end it on a positive note. Appreciate Jerry there for hanging out with us on Dodgers Territory earlier. Quick promo point here. If you haven't had enough of me on the internet, I co-host a show called Dodgers Territory along with Alana Rizzo on the Foul Territory Network. Check it out. There's a playlist also here on my YouTube channel. There's a whole bunch of links on our social media places, but we had Jerry Harrison Jr. on live from the golf course. He was on the 17th hole, put himself down for a birdie, even though he didn't play the hole. So we always appreciate Jerry taking some time out. And if I'm going to shamelessly plug, I got to remind you, do have a Patreon if you guys are looking for a different way to help support independent baseball coverage, support me, support the channel, support producer Kevin a little bit. Check out patreon.com/realfrg. There's a couple of perks in there. Maybe you enjoy, maybe you don't. We have a Discord server as well. There's also access to the, what do I call it? The Overreaction hotline, the voicemail hotline that we're going to hear from in a little bit. So check it out. I just threw a couple of perks in there, but if you're looking for another way, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, one of the things I did appreciate there from Jerry talking about the bats getting right, because you had Andy Pages having a career game. Yeah, it was only his, 5th, 6th game, but it was a career game where he has a double and a 3-run homer in the same inning, which is insane. Of course, that big 8-run inning. Gavin Lux earns a key walk that keeps the line moving, keeps fun in motion, we'll say. For that team to actually do some damage, for the top of the order to do some damage, which we saw Shohei Ohtani also do some damage in the game, passing Hideki Matsui on the all-time home run list for players born in Japan. So he passes Matsui. He's also approaching Dave Roberts on the Dodgers all-time list, but we talked more about that earlier on Dodgers Territory. I should get into the comments a little bit here before I talk more about my thoughts on the 8-run inning, and I'm going to preach just a little bit. But Craig Osterberg's in the chat. What's going on, Craig? Always appreciate you there. Mrs. FRG says no Shuey, ew, and I do agree. But if I cheat and I plan ahead properly, and we got Hamilton saying that he'll do a $200 super chat if we do a Shuey. Now we're talking. Listen, 7,000 subs, $200 super chat, whichever comes first. I'll do a Shuey on the next episode. That's how it's going to do. Low 17's asking about the bottom of the lineup. I'll talk a little bit about that in my next kind of line of thoughts. I do want to talk, get into some more of the comments here. Steven Munoz wants revenge against the Padres. These Dodgers have not played very well, very good, very quality, clean baseball games against the Padres so far this season. You would like to see them straighten that out a little bit, but I'm also looking forward to not seeing the Padres for a stretch. Let the Dodgers get healthy. Let the Padres get a little healthy as well. And let's see what things look like in a couple of months. At the tail end of this road trip, the Dodgers are finally playing the Diamondbacks, the ones that beat them in the NLDS, swept them in the NLDS last year. It'll be nice to see the Diamondbacks, who in their own right had a very big, very expensive offseason, not having a very good start to their season as well. They're a couple games under 500 at the moment, so we can kind of see where the two sides match up at this point this year and then later on in the year. But we saw last year, we talked about it, Kevin and I talked about it on the last stream, producer Kevin and I, that this time a year ago, the Diamondbacks were running all over the Dodgers, and it was annoying and it was a problem. So we'll see kind of measure up where things are at this year. But a couple more comments in here. Mr. Classic in the chat, what is going on? Mr. Classic, Roy Estrada talking about Pages versus Pages or Pages. So appreciate him educating Mr. Gonzalez here in the chat, because I think that's what's going on here. Sarah Morris is in the chat. What's going on, Sarah? Hope you're having a wonderful night. And she is a believer in Tyler Glasnow. You kind of now understand. I'll call that an overreaction too, but not really. This is a reason they traded for this guy. This is a Dodgers front office that can identify some talent, identify some things that it needs on the roster. And there was a very clear need for starting pitching on this Dodger staff, particularly this offseason. They add somebody like Tyler Glasnow, who, when healthy, when right, has shown ace-level stuff. And I'll go back to the eggplant at the start of the show. Somebody dropped that in the chat. That was a big eggplant performance out of Tyler Glasnow, something we absolutely needed. Kevin Uhas backing it up, saying Glasnow is for sure the stopper if he doesn't dominate on the mound. I don't feel confident that our other pitchers are going to give us the innings to win. This is a team that is absolutely struggling in the starting pitching department when it comes to giving quality innings. I think just barely, maybe it's just over the last week or something like that. I forgot the exact number, but I know the Dodgers do lead all of baseball in reliever innings pitched. And, thank God for somebody like Tyler Glasnow to go 8 innings, but also they had a day off. But to give them a couple of days, give the bullpen a 2-day blow, as Dave Roberts might call it, is very, very good, is very helpful. Still not a very, very good bullpen, but we have more guys coming back at some point. We will talk injuries later in the show. But Glasnow, it's kind of going to, I think at this point in the season, as Yamamoto still figures out some things, I think Glasnow is going to be the man. And by all accounts, just watching him, hearing him, watching the body language, I think he's kind of ready for it. He's ready for that challenge to have to be the man. He's got the show flow going, feel good, look good, play good, something like that. Hamilton says also huge FU on that last win. It was a bit of an FU win. It was a very needed win. I know on the broadcast they had mentioned calling it an angry win. I don't know if it was an angry win. It was more of a relief win to me. As One Eye Dragon in the chat says, Yama maybe. I had in his last start, was texting with a buddy and I coined the name of Yamamoto, and then he goes and he ended up pitching a clean inning, so I couldn't tweet it. But just remember, you guys heard it here first. Yamamoto, if he continues to do poorly. But if he does well, it's because I, said that here in the chat. One Eye Dragon also giving a thumbs up to 22, so I'm assuming we're talking about Mr. Clayton Kershaw. So we always, we always want that in there. We always want more Clayton Kershaw. We want healthy Clayton Kershaw. We also want to shout out Roy Estrada for a $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Roy Estrada for the super chat says, we need 4 solid starters to win a World Series. We have Glasnow and partially reliable Yamamoto. Who do we get to fill the last 2 spots? Well, one of those guys you really frickin' hope is going to be Walker effing Buehler. Dodgers are a little wary. It sounds like Dave Roberts is a little wary. He's a little kind of challenging the status or the where Walker is in his return. Struggling with command. We'll talk more about Walker in a little bit, but Walker is a huge factor to this damn starting rotation, to the future of things going well in October. But there's 3. That 4th guy, it could be any one of them. It could be any one of the guys that are still around. I don't think this team trades for anybody, but you got Bobby Miller hopefully coming back at some point. You have Clayton Kershaw, who, if he's your 4, if he's your number 4, you could feel pretty damn good about that. When we said Yama is going to be in there, maybe Emmett Sheehan could step up and show out. Maybe James Paxton puts it together and figures some things out. that last spot is kind of a little bit up in the air. But I feel good about that top 4 if you do get a vintage Clayton Kershaw back right off into the sunset, potentially. My guy, Mr. George, Mr. Jorge. Actually, I always forget if it's Jorge or George. I'm going to call him Jorge. But Mr. Dingers, Mr. and Mrs. Dingers hanging out here in the chat says, off day steak and wine for him and his wife, my wife. So we always appreciate you guys hanging out here in the chat. But let's move on. Let's talk about, hold on. I think did I see another one? I did see. Yeah, that's a special Monday. Richard Flores, thank you very much. $4.99 super chat says, we think the Dodgers have always been upfront and honest with their injury updates. Sincerely, Russia and Chinese state-run media. And also F the Ghost Runner to, just to throw that in there. Yeah, this Dodgers team is real funny when it comes to, being kind of open and honest and forthright with their assessment of their injured pitchers. And we heard all about a healthy Walker Buehler all offseason until it got into spring training. And then Dave a couple of times talking about how he didn't like what he was seeing. He needs to see him striking the ball more. He needs to see better command, more conviction, more consistency out of Walker Buehler. And he kind of echoed that same thing after Walker's bad rehab start on, was it last Thursday? But again, we will talk more Walker Buehler in a little bit. Gary A says, shouldn't the Dodgers have diversified the Yamamoto contract for a few arms as opposed to just one? That's, I'm kind of mixed on that one because we've seen them do that in the past. And this was the off season where they went out and allegedly got a bona fide ace. They got somebody who could be a bona fide ace, had bona fide ace material or potential. They had to spend usually have to spend a lot of money to get those kind of guys. As we're in the past, we've seen them pile up a Brendan McCarthy, Scott Kazmir type, Noah Syndergaard type or whatever, just sprinkling in randos and reclamation projects and all of that. This time they went all in, and it's still very early in the season. And, they allegedly print money. We'll say, or they say, people say, opposing fans of opposing teams say this team prints money, but they always try to play it as smart and think down the road, think 5 years in advance, and they wait for these type of deals to happen. They wait for the big spend on somebody like a Yamamoto, and it will work out, he said. It will work out, hopefully, eventually, but just got to give him a little bit of time. We will talk Yamamoto in a second, though, because all that said, I do have some concerns. But piggybacking off of what I said earlier about, it's a big win, but they lost another series. Everything is not perfect. It's far from perfect for this team. Very nice win, that angry win on Sunday. But I wonder, it's like, do we believe in the 8-run inning that the Dodgers put up, or do we believe in all of the rest of the innings that they had put up in that homestand, particularly scoring only 8 runs in, I think it was the 3 combined games before that. So you have 8 runs in 1 inning. That's kind of not, I don't know if it's not enough to show, like, I'd rather see them put up one here, 2 there, spread the wealth across 9 innings as opposed to 1 big inning. Yeah, it's fun, it's nice, it's really cool to see the lineup turn over. Andy Pages going off, getting that home run that I don't think anybody expected at that point because they already had such an explosive inning. But that's what I would rather see. I would rather see more consistent offense, or if it's going to be consistently 8 runs. That's fun, that's exciting. But I do have one thing. If I'm saying I want to see more diversified offense, I have one thing I do want to preach about to this Dodgers team, and that's you guys got to do the little things better. I think we've seen some struggles with this team in playing old school baseball, in playing keeping the line moving, passing the buck on, or not even passing the buck, but getting the player behind you, getting the batter behind you, it best set up for success in their at bat, whether it be a sacrifice bunt, a sacrifice hit, moving the runner over, playing that old school style of baseball. That is what I would love to see out of this team a little bit more. A couple weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago, I was beyond pissed about CT3 not bunting when he was leading off the inning with a ghost runner. He's leading off the 10th inning, the bottom of the 10th, with a ghost runner at second base. All you had to do is bunt him over. The next guy could get him home, get that runner home. You walk off. You win that game if they just played a little bit smarter. But everybody feels like, as Metabolic Holic says, it's called small ball. Yeah, play some fucking Tommy Lasorda ball in here every once in a while. Play some Mike Scioscia ball. Not everybody should be going up to the plate, throwing up G-hacks, daddy hacking, striking out, because that's another thing this team does just about better than anybody in baseball. That's striking out. They are only behind the Boston Red Sox, I think, in all of baseball in strikeouts. They are the worst or the best in baseball when it comes to striking out with runners in scoring position as of Monday, as of entering play on Monday. So that's what I preach to this team. Play small ball. Play it a little bit different. Not every at-bat needs to be going for that big hit. And that was something kind of Max Muncy kind of alluded to after, I think it was after the Saturday loss. He, in so many words, said, you know, everybody's kind of going up there for the big hit, and it might not necessarily always be the homer, but they just need that big hit to drop. A single here and there, a double down the line. And that's kind of what we saw with, like, in that 8-run inning. The Pages double kind of sparked something, and that came from the bottom of the lineup, which we know has been putrid to start the season. But that's kind of it's not even an overreaction. I think it's a fair take to say this team just needs to do a lot of the little things much better. But we have more thoughts. Of course, we have thoughts from you guys. Drop your overreactions, whatever they may be, into the chat here. I got a couple of different screens I'm looking at to see some chats, but we also have some thoughts from the voicemail hotline. So let's hear from first our friend, Mr. Noah Ortega, who shared his thoughts, which were mostly positive vibes from this past weekend.
Not gonna lie, I am really happy. Even though we have a very bad weekend, I am really happy for what's to come. I feel like this weekend showed the floor of how bad the Dodgers can be, but also the ceiling of how great they can be. I am really excited, and Ohtani is definitely worth $700 million. So have a good night, everybody, and let's go Dodgers!
Let's go, Dodgers. Thank you, Noah, for calling in on the voicemail hotline. Always appreciate Noah joining the show via the voicemail hotline. Again, you guys can join the voicemail hotline if you sign up for the Patreon. There's a couple of things in there. Check it out, please. Thank you. But anyway, appreciate the positive vibes. And he was also talking about that in our Discord server of, you know, it's early. You gotta like kind of pick and choose your wins, your battles, and point out like, hey, this is also a team that has Shohei frickin' Ohtani, currently 2 games over 500. It's not the end of the world. They're in an okay spot considering all of the injuries. Got a hot take from earlier's this afternoon's, I will say, Dodgers territory with my co-host, Alana Rizzo. This is what Alana had to say earlier in the show. I just felt like dropping it because that makes it seem like Alana is calling in the voicemail hotline, even though she really isn't.
Right now, he's our ace, right? He got the opening day nod. He is the certifiable ace. Clayton Kershaw is on the shelf. Walker Buehler is on the shelf. Tyler Glasnow is every bit of the ace that the Dodgers needed him to be. But we've got to have more to complement him in the starting rotation than just him. 5-1 is awesome, but 8-10 when he's not on the hill, not so awesome.
And we kind of talked about that a second ago. Who are going to be those other guys who stand up behind Glasnow? Those numbers she said there also 5-1 with Glasnow on the bump. One of those games he was quite violently ill, or not violently, but he had the flu-like symptoms. But without him on the bump, Dodgers not looking as good at all. So health is going to be the key to getting this team better. We knew that. We talked about that on this show, on this channel, for a good part of the offseason. Since I returned and made the channel here, it was you're going to have to wait for Clayton Kershaw when he comes back. You're going to have to wait a little bit for Walker Buehler once we found out that they were going to hold him back, which at the time I said was a good idea. Maybe down the road, maybe, just maybe, Dustin May can come back and be an option. Maybe less of a chance, but also maybe back, if we're talking about in September, maybe you can get a Tony Gonsolin back, who, by the way, is an all-star pitcher in his own right, and not a very bad one at that when he is healthy. Keep in mind, he was somebody who was pitching hurt a lot of last season and did that out of necessity to the team. I mean, part of it was him, he was trying to earn a contract incentive, but he was also trying to help the team that was in dire straits when it came to the injury bug. So, appreciate Alana's input there. You like what you see out of Glasnow. He is the ace, he is the stopper, but he needs a little bit of help in the rotation and in the pitching staff as a whole. Our last call in on the voicemail hotline, a new voice here, Gabriel, I believe. He had some thought. He had a ranging amount of thoughts, which I thought was fun. But we're going to listen to this, enjoy it, and then we'll kind of dive into. I wanted to focus on the Yamamoto talk here from Gabriel.
Hey, Clint. This is Gabriel from Southgate. And this team's got to get their shit together, man. There's so many issues right now. Freddie can't get on base. They almost get swept by the Nats and by the Mets, two teams that should not be sweeping us, and they almost get swept by them. I'm losing all my faith in Yamamoto. A waste of money right now. Every team, the Mets, they're waiting for the fastball. Everyone's waiting for the fastball, and they're getting crushed. Gavin Lux, Chris Taylor, James Outman can't get on base to save their life. I'm losing all hope. And this team's got to get their shit together. There's no way they're going to make it to the World Series like this. I want to know what you think, and thanks for doing this.
So that's a quality voicemail. That had a lot going on. Appreciate Gabriel. Gabriel, I'm going to call him for calling in there. Like I said, I wanted to focus on the Yamamoto part of that whole thing, but I agree. This is a team that the World Series aspirations hurt with the struggles that you're seeing from Chris Taylor, with the struggles you're seeing from Kike, from Gavin Lux, from James Outman, having those issues. We can kind of this weekend lump in a little bit of Teoscar in there, lump in a little bit of Max Muncy. Those guys are striking out a whole bunch. 30, I think it's 35 strikeouts for Teoscar and 32 or 33 for Max Muncy. Both of those guys are 1 and 2 on the team. But anyway, I wanted to focus on one of the things he said there, which was the Yamamoto. The fastball is getting hit around a whole bunch, and I'm seeing a few comments in here, by the way. I do want to mix in at the time, or like right now. Dodgers Everything says, I was hoping Yama was going to be that guy, but he needs time. I agree. Does need a little bit of time. We've seen the flashes of dominance in there, but now we're starting to get more of a track record, more of like something we could work on, and really Mark Pryor, the front office, can kind of data they can use to put a different game plan together, potentially different game plan. I think that's what we will start to see in the coming weeks and coming starts from him. We'll talk about that in a second. Doom Sal in the chat, appreciate you hanging out with us, Sal. Says health, run support, and better defense will be the difference. Hey, you're speaking my language there. That's what I would love to see, along with them playing, doing the little things well, or more so not doing the bad things well. I would love to see them, getting healthy. I had another comment. Oh, Matty Man 5 Dodge, playing better defense. Matty Man 5 Dodge brings up, like, got a bad feelings, but the guy's coming back. Like, we may be expecting way too much from them. Are we expecting too much out of Walker Buehler, out of somebody like a Blake Trinan, and Brusdar Graterol, more so Trinan, where we haven't seen this guy healthy in like the better part of 2 years, and kind of asking this dude to step in and, I don't know about be a savior, but he's somebody that's very crucial, very critical to the future success of this bullpen. That way you're not relying on dudes like Ryan Brazier. You guys know my thoughts on Ryan Brazier. I got to look to the numbers or to my notes here because I forget some of the names that are in there right now with so many people kind of coming in and out of the bullpen. I'm not sold. I am selling every bit of my Ryan Brazier stock. By the way, I talked about that in the last stream, and he made it worse. Every runner this dude has inherited has scored. He's allowing his own runners. Pets' heads are falling off. It's not a good sight. And hopefully you get somebody like Trinan back. Yeah, you waste, I mean, he's going to be somebody like Brazier is going to be a phantom IL situation. But at some point, I'm not seeing anything out of him that tells me he's going to figure it out. He was always going to be a prime regression candidate, and he's showing it. But enough of all that. I want to talk about fucking Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I don't want to talk about having intercourse with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but I want to talk about Yamamoto and, more importantly, that fastball. This is something that more people are starting to note. Apparently, a lot of big league teams are starting to realize as well. They're starting to notice. But he's leaving the fastball kind of down the middle. To me, it feels like a lot. And I got these numbers here as we look to focus on that four-seam fastball numbers for the people watching. That is a 355 batting average against on the four-seam fastball, 710 slugging percentage against that four-seam fastball, also known as batting practice. Everything else is pretty friggin' elite. So it shows you, it tells you this is a team that needs to kind of have a little bit of a chat with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Maybe you mix in more of that cutter, which it could be considered his fastball for a little bit. Maybe they find a way to wrinkle a two-seamer in there, some sort of sinker, because that fastball is just a little bit too damn hittable, and the numbers back that up. And this is not a small sample size. 140 pitches, 141 pitches so far this season, 141 fastballs, 355 average. That is tough to see, and that's where pretty much all of the damage is coming when it comes to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I saw earlier in the chat people talking about Shota Imanaga. I appreciate that because I also had it written into my notes to kind of point out, verbally speak about some of the differences in where Shota has been absolutely crushing it so far in his transition to the States. As where Yama's been a little bit, as I saw Rebecca Romero saying, Mrs. Dinger saying, was it Yamamoto? So we got Yamidmoto, Yamamoto. So you guys pick which one you prefer. But Shota has a lot more. He doesn't throw the fastball as hard as Yoshi, but he has arguably a better fastball. He has more of the perceived rise in that fastball. He's also able to dot that fastball up in the zone a little bit, as where most of Yamamoto's misses have been like right there, right in the middle. So just need some time for Yamamoto to kind of figure it out. It's another one of those guys. I'm not overly worried about him at this point, but if we're talking about more of the same in a month, in 3-4 weeks, then it's going to have to be a little bit of a conversation. He's going to be in there. He's going to get his chances. Maybe he's not going to be the Cy Young Award winner this year. Maybe he's not going to be the Rookie of the Year this year. That's fine. The team will have to figure out something. The team is really going to need to hope for the best in Walker Buehler's return, and maybe you can have aces in Tyler Glasnow and Walker Buehler. But you do have a little bit of worry when it comes to Yamamoto. Just need some time. But also, I do want to say I really, really wish this team signed Shota Imanaga, especially at the deal, the contract he ended up getting from the Cubs. Ooh, that was a freaking steal. I was all in. Folks who were watching the channel in the offseason know I was all in on Shota Imanaga. And you know what? You live, you learn, and we could turn back time. If you guys want to turn back time and make sure you hit that wrong button. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying the show so far. If you enjoy the channel, if you want to support me here on YouTube in numbers, that's cool. That really helps. Trying to get to 7,000 subs, and we're pretty close. We're trying to get there, but let's move on a little bit. Let's get into a couple of the comments here before we shift gears. And I mean, it's really backstepping as we talk more about the team and some of the struggles, but not really so much. Gary A says, I smell a rat. I don't like it. Not passing the eye test. I'm assuming you're talking about Yamamoto. I'm not too sure. I am behind in the comments, but some folks talking about Brazier. We got one person saying that he's going to figure it out. You really hope he does figure it out. Living Doorway in the chat says, geez, why does everybody act like the sky is falling? It's mid-April. Go Dodgers. I agree. That, one, like, panic sells. And we're not going to always just be pointing out, like, you get more shit online when you only like cherry pick the positives or the good things. So you're trying to kind of manufacture a little bit of excitement or a little bit of engagement when we're talking about, like, hey, here's our problems, here's the concerns. This is what you kind of worry about with this team. But I don't think this guy is quite falling just yet. As we sort of shift into my next point. Here's a great segue there from Living Doorway. Appreciate you, but I'm not actually worried about a 13-11 record here in April. There are underlying concerns though for this team heading into October. I feel not heading into, but as you trend towards the end of the season, I think there are some underlying concerns. Of course, the team needs some bullpen help. Maybe they needed it more, or they need it more than they anticipated heading into the season. I think they thought with guys like, Evan Phillips, Joe Kelly, Dan Hudson was one of those guys that was a minor league signing. They didn't anticipate him or really bank on him being like being the guy, and he's been one of the best ones. One of the best guys, sorry, one of the incomplete thought there because I was thinking about the rest of the bullpen, but he's been one of the better options in the bullpen up to this point. Brazier, again, that's one of those guys that's kind of fallen off. The numbers for Alex Vesia, good, but not the... Like, if you look at the advanced stats, things aren't happy. The advanced stats don't love him. He's got a FIP approaching like 6. He walks way too many dudes. At the end of the day, I guess you should worry about the production, about him getting the job done. But that is one of those things where if you're trying to look forward, you're trying to cherry pick potential issues, problems, concerns, things that don't want you that don't want to lead us as fans towards the pain and the embarrassment of another first or second round bounce in the postseason. These are those little things you start worrying about now. And right now, the bullpen has its question marks. The injured list is stacked with potential help there, so that's good. When you're talking about Brusdar Graterol, when you're talking about Blake Trinan, maybe somewhere down the road, somebody who could help on the pitching staff as a whole, somebody like Emmett Sheehan, losing Kyle Hurt was, I feel, pretty freaking massive at this point in time. But now is when you start to kind of look ahead a little bit towards, all right, what does this team need for October? Well, this bullpen isn't going to get it done in its current complexion. This pitching staff, the starting rotation, I should say, isn't going to get it done in its current complexion, in its current iteration. Another one of the things we're learning here early in the season as we approach the 1-month mark of 2024 Dodgers baseball, the world beater lineup we were kind of promised, this deep lineup, it's kind of been shorter. It's been more thin than expected. It's like if Lux can't figure it out, what is the backup plan in this team's mind? If the hits don't start dropping for James Outman, for Chris Taylor, for Kike Hernandez, what is that plan? When is the the pull the plug plan? When is the pivot plan? How do they try to get these dudes back on track, but not at the expense of wins and losses in the regular season for the big league team? How do you kind of figure that one out? There are some AAA options to throw those out here. Andre Lipsius has done pretty well to open his season at AAA. Miguel Vargas is the name we know. He was handed the keys to second base last year. Vargas, pretty good start to his AAA season as well, his 2024 season at Oklahoma City. He's got an OPS, I think it's over 900. He's, by all accounts, and you could listen to people like Casey Porter on Dodgers Daily, who I know focuses a lot more on these kind of guys. I haven't watched all that much Miguel Vargas this season outside of just some of the highlights we see online. But the swing looks better. The approach looks better. The numbers are showing maybe there's something in there. It would be at least as good, if not better, than the 140 Gavin Lux is hitting right now. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to throw Lux under the bus here completely. I think he, this team desperately needs him to figure it out. But if they want to get him away from the spotlight, or Chris Taylor, who's very much obviously in it right now, Kike Hernandez, again, James Outman, Miguel Vargas could be one of those dudes. Another guy, another name we kind of, maybe some fans have sort of forgot about, but he was relatively decent draft pick at one point before he fell off. That's Cody Hosey. He's having a really, really good start to his 2024 season at AAA. You wonder if they reward it. You also wonder if they don't buy in to 3 weeks of good play. But again, ultimately, I'm not worried about a 13-11 record at this point in the season. You do wonder, though, about those underlying concerns. And if we're talking about in-house options for particularly on offense, because it's one of the things we noted on Dodgers territory recently, there aren't very many, this team is missing Jason Hayward, but they're not missing much on offense. They're just missing the guys that are there doing their damn job. So what do you do if you don't have a Walker Buehler coming back that's, a offensive, position player equivalent to Walker Buehler? How do you kind of fix that? Well, usually you try to look a little bit in-house, or you look at some trade candidates. And I just wanted to throw this out here. I think I put him in the thumbnail as well. People love talking about future Dodger Willy Adames. Problem is now, the Milwaukee Brewers are doing pretty good in the National League Central. If they keep on thriving or even staying in the hunt there in the Central, Willy Adames is not going to be available 100%. Even if he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, this is a team that needs to win back its fan base after letting Craig Counsell just walk and go sign for nothing but money with the Cubs this past offseason, trading away Corbin Burns this past offseason. They need to get some good vibes going there. They apparently have some good vibes going early here this season. I'm not bought all the way in on the Brewers. I don't think Brewers fans are bought all the way in on the Brewers doing well. But if they're in the hunt, it's going to feel a lot like the 2021 Giants, where they bought some dudes with the intent on selling at the deadline, but then they were kind of good and stayed in the hunt. Of course, they were better than staying in the hunt. They were in the lead in the National League West, and they couldn't sell because they had to try to go for it, and it kind of set them back a couple of years. The Brewers, if they're doing good, they can't lose that. Can't lose the good vibes there at American Family Field now. So really what it comes down to is I'm going to point to Miguel Rojas. I just wanted to get to an in-house candidate there that's in the organization and on the active roster. That's how you kind of fix a Gavin Lux or a CT3, or maybe not a James Outman situation, as Mario points out Rojas there, saying 10-plus homers this season. That's a hot take for Mario. Appreciate that. Jenny Vega in the chat. What's going on, Jenny? Good to see you in here. But we'll see. I think at this point now we probably got another 2.5, 3 weeks of trying what we're seeing right now, and this road trip is going to be crucial. It's going to be critical to what mid-May and beyond look like for this team. Guys, hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying anything about your life. That's all I got. Made a noise there. That's always fun. But as we transition into some of the latest injury updates, I do got to talk about the status of Walker Buehler. Butane is still on the IL. He did not have a great outing in his last rehab start at AAA Oklahoma City. Was it a 3 1/3, 68 pitches, walked a bunch of dudes. And it feels to me like the team, like the front office, Dave Roberts is worried a good bit about Walker Buehler at this point. One of the things that Dave Roberts did say in a recent interview, a recent scrum at Dodger Stadium, he noted, hey, Walker hasn't pitched in a long time, but when you're on the heels of pitching for us, when you're that close to pitching for us, you got to be good too. They've noted, hey, command is an issue for Buehler at this point. Again, if you're walking that many dudes, you're throwing that many pitches in a short amount of time, command appears to be an issue, and it seemingly has been an issue since he started getting off the mound this spring. Because, again, this is not the first time we've heard Dave say this year. Gary A. says, I'd be shocked if Buehler resembles anything close. And, I do worry about that. I think the closer we get to Buehler, and I'm perfectly fine. I think even if he kind of put a gem together at OKC last week, I kind of would have been okay with them giving him one more start, bring him back home off the IL, at home at Dodger Stadium against the Braves, that first series in May. But you start to worry, like, maybe, this is going to be one of those guys. We see them every once in a while that can't come back, that don't come back from injury, that can't come back from a surgery. Maybe something changed. Maybe he got in his own head about trying to change mechanics, ease some potential for future injury to that elbow. He admitted, he said he's part of, I forgot what the name of the podcast is, but he's part of a podcast with some baseball dudes where he's mentioned that, like, he did when you see him, he got bigger, he added weight because, as he said, mass equals velocity, mass equals acceleration, which equals velocity. So he's trying to get some mass behind the ball. He's trying to alter the mechanics a little bit to hopefully keep the elbow from snapping in another 4 or 5 or 6 years or whatever it may be. And you start to worry about that when you start to hear about, good players, good pitchers changing their mechanics to mitigate injury or to hopefully eliminate the potential for future injury. We might not see the same Walker Buehler that we know and love. He might not be Butane as we remembered it, as Gary A. said there. He didn't earn the name of Butane for nothing. Maybe it's not going to be the Butane. Maybe it's going to be like Bic Lighter. I don't know. That's a really bad comparison there, but we'll see. I do think he's got one more rehab start before he comes back. That rehab start will be, I think it's Thursday. They haven't decided whether or not it's at Single A Rancho or at AAA Oklahoma City. I don't want to get back into talking about Gavin Lux, but I feel like I got to get a new light because this one makes me really warm. But anyways, if the team is saying that Walker, he needs to be good, if he's going to be playing with us, if he's going to be pitching with us, he needs to be good. Why couldn't they do that with Gavin Lux? I don't understand why this team was so hell-bent on Gavin Lux being on the active roster for opening day that they needed to put him on the active roster for opening day. He's coming off of an injury. He hadn't played in a long time. It makes sense that maybe he needed a little bit more time. It's an ACL tear. It's something that's fairly significant. So I don't want to dive into a whole lot of Lux. I'm just saying, if you can do that with Buehler, why couldn't they have done that with Lux? Because Lux is just kind of struggling at this point. Appreciate him getting the walk on Sunday. Hopefully that good at bat kind of transfers or translates into the start of a hot streak for him. But Just wanted to throw that out there. Mario asking, where's the Modelo? Right here, my dude. We are ready. Sorry, I didn't mean to inadvertently flip you off there, but, you know, we're in here. We're enjoying it. Diane Schroeder, by the way, guys, joining us in the chat. Appreciate you hanging out. She says hit that like button, guys. If you haven't liked, hit that like button. If you want Walker Buehler to not just be back, but to be all the way back. We want all-star Walker Buehler. We want almost Cy Young award-winning Walker Buehler. BC notes, I forgot. My bad. Lux got 2 walks, including that one in that big 8th inning. So, again, hopefully the start of something. He just needs to get on base. Keep the line moving. Play good baseball. Thank you. I don't know what's going on there. What are we talking about with Dodger territory? Check it out. Me and Alana Rizzo every Monday and Thursday on Foul Territory. But the other, I see that. Hold on, I got to turn my buttons back on because I saw a super chat from our friend Swollen Sausage, $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Sausage. Says, it's nice to see you tonight. Taco Tuesday tomorrow. Yeah, an early game for the Dodgers, at least, by West Coast standards here. But appreciate the super chat. Appreciate all super chats. Appreciate you guys just hanging out with us. That's very nice of you to spend a Monday hanging out here in the chat. Let's talk about Blake Trinan a little bit. Talk about Brusdar Graterol a little bit. More importantly, Blake Trinan, he did throw a bullpen. He threw off the mound. I think it was this weekend, it was this weekend. He's going to go out on a rehab assignment this week. And my expectation is we will see him back on the active roster when the team comes back home to LA after playing the next 3 series they're going to play. We'll talk about that in a second. Oh my God, the excitement of rolling it forward, looking ahead. Brusdar, he's starting to throw. He still needs, a good amount of mound time, good amount of rehab, and isn't even eligible to come off the IL until I think mid-May. So we're still a little bit further away from Brusdar. The big one, a tough loss, especially right now, is that loss of Kyle Hurt, also to a shoulder or a bout of shoulder inflammation. The depth for this team, my God, has it been kicked in the dick in this first month, because you lose him, you lose Hurt, who was probably 8th or 9th on the depth chart when we opened the season, or really when you were just about to take off to Korea, to all of a sudden he was somebody who was expected to be getting big innings, getting potentially some starts for these Dodgers, and then shoulder starts barking on him. Bobby Miller, shoulders barking on him. He did throw over the weekend. No report as of yet that I saw as to how things went for him. It seems to be on track for him to miss the minimum, but with the way things are going, keep your fingers kind of crossed there. Emmett Sheehan is reportedly supposed to throw, I think, off the mound or flat ground this week. The big one, I enjoyed this one, was from last week, but Clayton Kershaw, they say, the report is he's expecting to get off of a mound in May, and that is fun. That is exciting. I just want to see the man throw. The last time we saw, the last vision we have of Clayton Kershaw was not a good one. And I want to see him back on the bump and doing good things for these Dodgers. But there's your little bit of some injury updates. Not a whole lot going on. We know Jason Hayward is going to be out still for a little while longer. Had a little bit of a setback with that back, so that's where they live right now. That's the situation the Dodgers find themselves in. As Roy Estrada says, it feels like Groundhog Day as we keep getting these little injuries, those little nagging things. But it's part of the journey. This is the full story. We're going to look back in August and September and be like, you guys remember April when the sky was falling on one random off day Monday edition, Modelo Monday edition of All Dodgers? Oh, the sky was falling, but now we're good. Now we're happy. We're going to have a good time. Viquez in the chat says he's late. They're late, but says that I myself, Clint, crushed it on Dodgers territory today. Thank you very, very much. If you guys didn't watch it, we did welcome Jerry Harrison Jr. today on the show from the golf course. And he needed some Wi-Fi help, and he also needed some help to beat former big leaguer Kyle Loesch. But we do appreciate Jerry joining us. Diane says that it's a good point going on in the chat to sign up for Patreon if you have not. A couple cool options in there, I feel. Check it out. Maybe not. If you're looking for a different way to support independent Dodgers coverage, independent baseball coverage, support here, keep the lights on, patreon.com/realfrg. But let us look ahead before we get out of here. Dodgers go out on a 9-game roadie. Starts in D.C., starts in our nation's capital against those hated Nationals. I say hated because the Dodgers have really struggled against the Nationals over the last few years. I think they've lost 4 of their last 5 series against the Nats as well. So, got to get some things together there. They got 3 against the Nats, 3 against Justin Turner and the Blue Jays on this roadie, then 3 against the Diamondbacks, as we talked about earlier, facing the D-backs for the first time this season. So I feel, to me, this is a very critical. This is a crucial road trip to learn what this team is going to be about, because you're coming off of that big win. You're coming off of a 10-0 shutout. Glasnow shoves for 8 innings, 10K. You put together an 8-run inning. You got the kid Andy Pages getting his first career homer. You got Shohei Ohtani getting his 176th career homer. You got Freddie Freeman starting to come out of it. You still got Mookie Betts hitting well. This is a time where you got to kind of piece some things together on the road, and don't let that angry win go to waste. Because if they lose on Tuesday, I don't know, kind of negates the win to me. Just a little bit, but tough. We'll say maybe tough matchup on Tuesday, because you do have James Paxton going for the Dodgers, who has struggled a little, walked 8 in his last outing that got him pushed back a few days. Old friend, left-hander Patrick Corbin goes for the Washington Nationals. He's the type of dude you got to beat up. You got to him a little bit last week. You got to beat up Patrick Corbin, especially if you're seeing him twice in a week. Landon Knack makes career start number 2, first start on the road. He faces Jake Irvin, who the Dodgers faced last, Wednesday, I think it was, the early game. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto makes his league-leading 7th start, I believe it is, against Mackenzie Gore, former Padre. He was the guy involved in the Juan Soto trade. Another lefty. We'll note, this team has hit better. I looked at the stats last week, so I don't know the update right now, but this is a team that has hit decently against left-handed pitching. The problem has been, hitting with runners in scoring position as a whole. We know that. They strike out more than any other team in baseball with runners in scoring position. So you got to see them, cut down that K amount, and just like I said much earlier in the show, play cleaner baseball, play smarter baseball. You don't. What do they always preach in what am I looking for in post-game interviews and all that? Try not to do too much, stay within yourself. That's what this team needs to do. You just do the little things better. It is hard, but it's not that hard to do sometimes, boys in blue. But anyways, my not so hot take for this, again, I'm going to say you need to make that 10-0 shutout mean something by getting a win in Game 1. That said, I did predict in the last series the Dodgers would sweep. I was wrong. They were almost swept. I feel they take 2 or 3 in this one. Hopefully they are going for a sweep. But I believe that is about it. A lot of Dodgers talk crammed into about 1 hour. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always, hanging out with me as always. You guys are awesome people, and you do the thing well. That's all I got. Guys, coming up on the channel this week we will be back. Words are hard. We'll be back on Thursday with producer Kevin talking about the latest in Dodger baseball. It should be a post-game show edition, post-game-ish edition of the show. If you guys missed it, also, again, we talked about it a few times here on the stream. Alana Rizzo and I welcomed Dodgers reporter, Dodgers broadcaster, Dodgers analyst, really, Jerry Harrison Jr. onto Dodgers territory today. Check it out. There is a playlist here on my YouTube channel. Listen to the podcast. If you guys can do us a huge favor and find the podcast versions of Dodgers territory, go subscribe, go leave a review, leave a 5-star rating if you can. That really goes a long way in helping out Alana and I. The same with the All Dodgers podcast. I don't do a good enough job promoting the podcast side of it, but if you guys can't watch live, there is a audio edition of this show. I clean up a few things. I don't change too much in it usually, but check it out. Give that a review if you wouldn't mind. Give that a 5-star rating if you wouldn't mind. Those things really do help go a long way in the greater algorithm of baseball content here online. And maybe people being like, hey, those people are cool. We're going to give them some sponsors, and then Modelo will finally start. I mean, this is Apple Juice YouTube, I promise, but maybe they'll start doing that. Reminder, for less than the price of a Michelada at Dodger Stadium, you can support independent Dodgers coverage on my Patreon page. The link is in the description, patreon.com/realfrg. Couple of perks come with it and all that. Got the picture of the dog there. Support the dog. Support Dodger Dog Doobie, who was a very bad boy and got out earlier. But check it out again, patreon.com/realfrg if you don't mind. You know, it goes a long way. Shout out, of course, always goes to our mods. You guys crush it here in the chat. I am Real FRG on the social media things. Clint Pasillas in real life. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram if you are so inclined. Hope we earned a thumbs up on this edition of All Dodgers Live, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.